Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am really sorry this took so long to get to this point with my top secret reviews, but busy schedule, lots of things going on. But I finally got to the last one I'm doing, and I'm going to give you guys my final thoughts on espionage games and what I think the future for that, along with a little bit of a rating of what I thought of the espionage games that I did review. But first, let's get to this one. This is the final bug. This is a monster of a choose-your-own-adventure for use with the top secret SI rule set. This was a blast. This was a lot of fun. It actually came with, I don't know if you can see that there in the back picture. I'll break them out, but this book is actually starting to fall apart. It came out in, I want to say 89, 88, something like that. But you play an espionage agent for Orion, and it came with a whole bunch of handouts, some maps, a record sheet, some photographs that actually feel like photographs for you to examine and look for clues, a couple of letters that were sealed when I got them to help you, again, solve the mystery, a little brochure for the Mountain Midlands Express train ride of a lifetime, and then a printout that you find in a garbage can. All fantastic ideas, as well as a character sheet in the back to keep track of your hit points and things like that. And depending on how it goes, optional endings, pretty much a one-player kind of thing. I suppose you could tear it apart and add people to it and whatnot, but going back and forth between the pages, it's really best as a solo, one-shot, one-person thing. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. I actually miss the old Choose Your Own Adventures, and apparently this was part of something called the Catacombs system or something like that. I have literally no other knowledge about such things. I'd be interested in picking up more and reading about them and playing through them. I have most of the old Choose Your Own Adventures, and I went through them a couple years back trying to get my son interested in that sort of thing. But compared to today's modern conveniences, it even to me it seems very archaic, very primitive. But you know what, if you've got the time and you don't have access to the internet, or you're like on a plane trip or a train ride or something like that, even a road trip in the car, if you're a youngster, and you don't do the internet while you're driving kind of thing, still viable in a limited scope and fashion to have a little enjoyable read. And let's face it, who out there doesn't need a little bit more time reading with an actual book in hand? So if you get a chance to pick it up, I'd recommend trying it once. It's not real expensive. Is it worth the $20 that you're probably going to pay? Maybe even more, only if you're a hardcore collector and you're dying for a solo espionage adventure. Otherwise, there's a whole lot better things you can do with your time. Now, speaking of better things to do with your time, Top Secret, first edition. It's absolutely a product of its times. Whether it's a still viable game, no. Just no. SI is better in every way. Is it the best game for espionage? Probably. Mercenary Spies and Private Eyes leaves a lot to be desired. A lot of work needs to be done to fill it out. James Bond, nice game. If you're a hardcore, die-hard James Bond fan, definitely, probably the game for you. Keep your calculator handy. Keep lots of scratch paper handy. And again, be prepared to watch all the movies, steep yourself in all the lore, and understand that you're never going to play James Bond. You might bump into him, and the GM's really going to have to do probably a lot more work to keep that feel of the James Bond franchise in the game. Otherwise, you'd be better off playing Top Secret SI, or if you are a big fan of the Mercenary Spies and Private Eyes, or even if the James Bond, if that's your jam, go for it. The one game I will not recommend ever to anyone, and I admonish the creator. He had created something great with SI and decided to create the 3rd edition New World Order, and it was hot garbage. Just absolutely. I read the PDF, and it was one of those games made by someone who, I could be wrong, who appears to have played so many games out there and decided to try and pick and choose the most popular rules of his recollection, his experience, and jam them all into one game to try to emulate an espionage game, and failing so miserably that and I don't normally give a negative review, but this is literally one of the worst games I've read in years. There's a couple worse than that, but the old expression, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, applies to Top Secret New World Order. If you bought into the Kickstarter, trust me, I feel for you, but it came highly recommended. It came from someone who appeared to be something of a genius when it came to espionage games and all that, but it just felt like it was cobbled together from all of the cliche, gimmicky, overly dice-ridden mechanics and procedures I've ever seen. Maybe if you'd never played an espionage game and you were a big fan of things like Savage Worlds or something like that, where you need 50 different dice to play the game, I'm more of a fan of 2d6s, percentiles, 2d10s, something like that, something with a little bit of a bell curve, but with a larger range of odds, more realistic odds, and not so much a dice pool. The more dice, the more fun you're having kind of mentality. It was just awful. You can get the PDF for free on the high seas, and if you really would like to discuss it further, go ahead, give it a shot, come back to me. Maybe you can explain to me what I missed about it, but I'm perfectly happy with Top Secret SI. Now, will I ever get a chance to run it? Bare minimum 4 players ready to buy in for that kind of a thing, and preferably for more than just a one shot. I don't have time for one shots. What do you want? You want to go outside? You're a weirdo. I really need to get this guy some fingers, because he's constantly doing that to me. But anyways, I digress. The game that maybe you guys can guess that came out on top, total surprise to me. Wasn't expecting to have feelings like I do for this particular game. Thanks, Mark. This is, if I'm going to play an espionage game, and this is the problem with espionage games. We've all been so spoiled with things like magic and lots of hit points and saving throws and crazy odds and insurmountable odds being not so insurmountable, magic items and high-tech gadgets and lucky breaks and all that stuff. Playing a good old-fashioned espionage game just doesn't really seem to have the appeal it once did. Maybe I've been following politics too much and the real-world things and my own experiences in the field. I've been shot at, I've been stabbed, struck by lightning, all that stuff. I want to see a lot more gonzo fantasy, even in my science fiction. Even science fiction on its own has so much more to offer, strange new vistas, aliens to meet and stuff. And I think it's just, if we're going to play a game of make-believe, then, like my old man said, if you're going to dream big. And dreaming about, fantasizing about being a goon for the government as it stands now does not hold a whole lot of appeal anymore. And I'm speaking presumably for a lot of places, not just where I live. There doesn't seem to be a right or wrong anymore. The good guys are so hard to find, and they're inevitably turned into the bad guys. The loyalty's not there anymore. The goals, the lofty ideals, just don't seem to be there in the real world, and emulating that in a modern day game just seems like a Herculean task for most, even myself. I could do it, but I'd want to slip in that X-Files element, that supernatural element, the things that probably aren't real, might be real, but just seemed to me that it would make a game more fun. And this game does all that in spades. Mercenary Spies and Private Eyes tries to do it, but it's a smaller book. A lot of the pages are taken up with things that don't need to be there. Now maybe there are other books, expansions, etc., but I could run this game, if it was the only game I had on a desert island, I could run this game for years right out of one book. Now there are some supplements to this as well that I'm aware of, and they sound like they would add quite a bit. And yes, I would probably end up doing some work, creating new psionics or spells or things like that, but you don't need to use that in this game. You can run just a pulpy espionage game, a noir detective type story, even a true crime story with this book, and you're pretty much good to go. Now there's a few imperfections in here, a few gimmicky rules that you could take out if you want a little bit more grittier, darker, deadlier game. As GMs, we don't really have to try all that hard to make a game more dangerous, but this game really did surprise the heck out of me. And thanks again, Mark, from Mark's Genre Mixer. If you're not subscribed to him, go check him out. I know he's not doing a whole lot of stuff, but maybe we can encourage him to pump out a little more content by going over and saying hi and letting him know I sent you there, because I really do owe him a debt of gratitude for turning me on to this, especially since I'm not a big fan of Castles and Crusades. It's one of my least favorite Dungeons and Dragons clones. I really think I could have crapped out something better in my sleep. I get where they were going, but they took the best things out of adventure fantasy games, role-playing games of that nature, and just kicked them to the curb, watered it down to the point of just they took all the magic from D&D and just said, well, we don't want that. We're going to make it our own, and in doing so made the most vanilla game I've come across in a long time. Now, I am in a Castles and Crusades game, and I'm there because of the people. I like most of the people. Okay, I like all the people. But that's what makes the game worth playing. It's we could be playing Monopoly or Uno online, and I'd still be willing to hang out with them for the most part. But since we are playing a game, and there is hope on the horizon. There are nuggets of potential enjoyment right there, just almost out of reach, but still accessible. So I'm going to stick with that and see where it goes, at least for the time being. But when it comes to Troll Lord, this was their masterpiece as far as I'm concerned. I might be willing to look at other games of theirs if they have other games. I'm not really sure, but this one wins the prize for Top Secret. Now that I'm done with Top Secret, I will be going on to another Dark Horse game, another game, actually two games, that seems to have been left by the wayside and forgotten by most, rarely ventured into, but my absolute favorite genre, that being Westerns. I am going to tackle everything I own in Boot Hill that I have not yet covered before last April, but I'm also going to begin to dive back into Gamma World. I've got almost everything for it up until 3rd edition. I wish I never let go of the alternative books, but who knows, maybe I'll be able to find them without, breaking the wallet. But that's what I got going on for the month of April, along with the usual shenanigans. I hope you guys will stick around and at least, give Westerns and Boot Hill, or maybe some other Western game out there. I know I'm going to try and grab a copy of Cowpunchers from the Basic Expert, and I'm looking forward to Victor's take on Western games. I think, being that it's my favorite genre, and how easy it melds in some of the supernatural, if you're interested in doing that, or if you want to keep it strictly historical or realistic, it's still a very viable game. I know a lot of people who still play it out there, so I'm going to hit up Boot Hill. And with all the things that are going on, being the fact that I've been a prepper for my entire life, a survivalist game with mutants and talking plants and androids and all that stuff. If we're going to do the apocalypse, let's do it right. Let's do it in style. Let's do it gonzo with talking plants, animals, androids, ray guns, all that good stuff. Heck, even Fallout's putting out a movie this month. I think it'll be out. So that seems like maybe there's still some life in these old school games. Mind you, they're some of the oldest of old school games, and I'm gonna do my best to bring them to you guys, and hopefully you'll enjoy the heck out of them as much as I have over the years, and maybe you'll convince me to run one or both of them between now and January. Let's see what happens. Let's keep it weird. Let's keep it Wild West. Let's keep it gonzo. Until next time, folks, have a great rest of your weekend. I will see you guys Monday. Going to probably dive into the Boot Hill shortly, but I do have a game tonight. AD&D, yeah, I'm still doing that. And I hope to see you guys all in the funny papers. And until next time, folks, happy trails.